Most people believe markets change through crashes, big headlines, big panic, big reactions. That's what we are trained to look for. But leadership doesn't usually change that way. It changes quietly when money begins to leave yesterday's winners and move somewhere else. No drama, no headlines, no bell ringing. And this one chart shows that process very clearly. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let me explain what you're looking at in simple terms. This chart tracks two rotations happening at the same time. The first is a rotation between materials and technology, real physical assets versus digital growth stories. The second is a geographic rotation, global markets outside the United States compared to the United States itself. When these two lines move together, they don't tell us anything about fear or optimism. They tell us something far more important. They show what capital prefers, not what it is reacting to, but what it is choosing. From 2020 through 2024, the playbook was simple. US stocks, big tech, growth assets, liquidity driven returns. That dominance made sense. Rates were near zero, liquidity was abundant, stimulus flowed everywhere. Financial assets consistently outperformed physical ones. Money crowded into the same trades because those trades worked. And when something works for long enough, it stops being questioned. But leadership always carries the seeds of its own exhaustion. When everyone already owns the same assets, future returns don't disappear in a crash. They fade through diminishing effectiveness. Now look closely at what happens around late 2025. Both lines stop falling and both start moving higher at the same time. That's a signal. One line tells us money is rotating out of technology and into materials, real assets instead of growth stories. The other tells us money is rotating out of the US and into the rest of the world. When these two things happen together, it's not a coincidence. It means capital is making a clear choice, not reacting to a crash, not chasing a headline, but quietly repositioning. This is not panic, but it's preparation. Money is moving away from where returns were easiest and toward where returns might exist next. Now, here's why this matters. When leadership changes this way, quietly and together, growth expectations begin to fragment. Capital becomes more selective. Returns stop being uniform. Broad index performance becomes harder to sustain. This is not a sell everything signal, it's a signal that the easy phase is over. From here, outcomes diverge. Some assets outperform quietly, others stagnate without collapsing. And many investors mistake stagnation for safety. This is exactly why gold, commodities, and real assets are behaving the way they are. They're not exploding, they're not collapsing. They're being repriced relative to financial assets. That distinction matters. Gold isn't moving because of panic. Energy isn't confirming simple inflation stories. Industrial materials are strengthening without hype. Different assets are responding to different risks. That's what fragmentation looks like. So, what does this tell us about 2026? Markets are not breaking, they're reorganizing. Returns are becoming more uneven, more regional, more asset specific. The biggest mistake investors make in phases like this is assuming yesterday's leaders will lead again. They rarely do. Leadership doesn't disappear, it moves. And it usually moves before the headlines catch up. Here's a useful takeaway without any predictions or hype. Stop watching headlines. Start watching relative leadership. Ask simple questions. Who is gaining quietly? Who is stalling without crashing? Where is capital being redeployed rather than chased? Because in cycles like this, understanding where money is moving away from matters more than guessing where it rushes next. This chart doesn't scream, it whispers. But it tells you something most headlines won't. Leadership is changing slowly, structurally, and deliberately. And investors who recognize that early don't need to predict crashes. They simply stop standing in the wrong place. You're watching Market Velugu Light on Markets. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. I will see you in another interesting episode.